Alright guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So the New York Jets, in my opinion, are in a fantastic spot as it pertains to the NFL draft, right? Obviously, you want more picks, you want a second rounder and whatnot, right? Of course, obviously. But as far as the 10th overall pick is concerned, the Jets can go in a bunch of different directions, and in my opinion, it would be a smart pick. It would be a pick that makes sense, right? And I've seen a lot of arguing and disagreements and whatnot on social media, and also too like just talking with my buddies that are Jets fans on what the New York Jets should do. Now, again, I think the Jets can go in a bunch of different directions, but in this one, I wanted to really start kind of the first episode of like a little mini series where I talk about really hit the trifecta of positions slash player that the Jets should draft at spot number 10. We're going to be talking about why I feel like it makes sense to go down that specific path, right? We're talking why the New York Jets should draft offensive line, why the New York Jets should draft Brock Bowers, why the New York Jets should draft a wide receiver at spot number 10, and then also kind of a bonus one, why it makes sense for the New York Jets to trade down. Of course, that is, that comes with a caveat. There needs to be a trade partner, and we're not going to see a New York Jets draft trade before the draft, right? That's going to have to be some, we're going to essentially have to see the board play out, right? Does a quarterback fall? Does a player hit spot number 10 that nobody was expecting, and all of a sudden somebody wants to leap up to spot number 10 to select him? There's so many different scenarios. So I'm thinking a bonus episode for that. But again, we're going to be covering the positions wide receiver, offensive line, tight end is kind of irrelevant, so I'm just going to say Brock Bowers. But in this one, we're going to be focusing on offensive line, right? Why I feel like the New York Jets should draft an offensive lineman, the pros that come with that. So the first thing that pops in my mind when I'm thinking about the Jets drafting an offensive lineman in the first round is depth. And I understand that depth and picking in the top 10 don't necessarily go hand in hand. I completely get that, but the New York Jets are in a weird position to where I feel like their starting five is fantastic on paper, right? Of course, they still have to gel. Of course, they have to be healthy. We can't have any setbacks or injuries or anything like that. We do have Tyron Smith coming off an injury last season, AVT coming off a season-ending injury, Morgan Moses coming off of an injury. Joe Tippmann had, some injury trouble a year ago. These guys have been banged up, but I think when we're just looking at names on paper, we're in a really good position. But here's the reality. The New York Jets offensive line gets hurt every single season. I feel like I'm talking about it every year. Guys are going down in training camp. We're moving guys' positions, right? Oh, so-and-so gets hurt. Now we have to move this tackle inside. We have to take him from the left side and put him on the right side, try to figure it out. It seemed like literally every week last year was a different combination, and it was just like, cross your fingers, hopefully this lineup works. And most of the time it didn't, right? Most of the time it didn't. We had offensive line troubles throughout Zach Wilson's career with the Jets, right? Last 3 seasons, we've had offensive line issues going back to Sam Darnold, right? We didn't really give him a solid chance to succeed behind that offensive line. It's just, I'm at the point right now to where I want a brick wall in front of Aaron Rodgers coming off an Achilles at 40 years old, who will be turning 41 in the season, right? In December. Crazy, right? I need protection up front. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Douglas has been here for years. This isn't the Titans at 7, right? With Callahan, the new regime coming in. This isn't Atlanta at 8. First year of everybody trying to instill the culture, trying to build up the roster. No, Douglas has been here for a long time, and the offensive line behind the starting 5 still has some question marks, right? So if you take the Jets' long history of offensive line injuries and you compound that with, adding free agents that have a history of getting hurt, outside of Morgan Moses, he's been a pretty consistent, durable player throughout the course of his career outside of last year, where of course he was hurt. But that doesn't really equate to, the Jets are going to have a 100% healthy offensive line through 17 games and then be 100% good to go for a playoff push, right? It doesn't typically just, could it happen? Sure, but it doesn't add up. And I don't want to be 5 weeks into the season kicking myself saying, man, you know what? The Jets could have done more addressing depth on the offensive line because we are losing games because the defensive line is just ripping by. We have no running game, right? We can't protect Aaron. God forbid he gets hurt again. So, for me, I think depth is such a huge question mark still. And of course, you can push back and say, well, hey, Bakhtiari is still out there. Donovan Smith is still out there. 100%, right? If the Jets want to go with Bowers or a wide receiver, let's bring those vets in. Let's bring them on in. But as we stand right now, 2 weeks here before the NFL draft, we don't have depth. I like Carter Warren. I like Max Mitchell, but in a do or die type of season where a lot of people's jobs are on the line, I think I would opt for the high upside, high floor types of players that we have here in the first round. The second reason why I feel like it makes all the sense in the world is that we don't have a franchise tackle, right? We have a franchise guard in AVT. Joe Tippmann was the man last season, playing some guard, playing some center, a versatile young offensive lineman who's nasty. He is, athleticism to get to the second level, a nice building block on the inside. But as far as the tackle position goes, we don't have that Tristan Wirfs. We don't have Ronnie Stanley, Penei Sewell, or Rashawn Slater. We don't have that young go-to tackle that is going to be here for the foreseeable future, no questions asked. Just a true bookend tackle. Again, we have those starters, those one-year Band-Aids in Moses and Smith, which is great. But what's really the plan after this year? And to kind of circle back to the depth argument, what happens in the event that one of those guys gets hurt? So I think with drafting offensive tackle, you're definitely fixing the long-term solution or the long-term question at tackle, right? Who is it going to be? We need a franchise one. And also too, like, we have a franchise receiver in Garrett. We have a franchise running back. I mean, I feel like when you just scan the depth chart, we have core pillars, core pieces at numerous areas outside of tackle, right? Sauce at corner, Quinnen on the inside of the D-line, Jermaine Johnson on the outside. Again, Garrett Wilson at receiver, AVT on the inside of the offensive line, Breece Hall at running back. Of course, you got Rodgers at quarterback, but, at tackle, it just kind of feels like it's a year-to-year basis, and in the case of last year, it was a week-to-week basis. Like, oh God, who's it going to be this week? I don't know. Do we have to move a guy's position? Is somebody getting hurt? What's he dealing with? Just way too many question marks. And with that comes a lack of consistency, a lack of chemistry. At the end of the day, as much as I love this offensive line, I do not want to be seeing reports coming out of in training camp where we're playing guys out of position, where we're moving guys around every other day just for them to get experience or whatever the reasoning was. Right, I need these guys in the same positions as projected. Tyron Smith, left tackle, Simpson, left guard, Tippmann center, Vera Tucker right guard, and of course Moses at right tackle. But the point is, if we were to draft an offensive lineman in the first round, we would be getting somebody that has the potential to be a franchise tackle, to be a Penei Sewell, to be a Rashawn Slater, right? To be one of these, one of these awesome building blocks. I mean, I watch these other teams play and it's just like, oh man, I really wish that we had a player like that. And at this point in time, we just don't. Again, I do like Max Mitchell and Carter Warren, but as far as them being on the roster 8 years from now, it's just up in the air, right? It's too risky for me to go out and say that. So next up is the whole little brother, big brother theory, right? And we've talked a little bit about this on the channel, but imagine if you're Olu, right? Let's just use him for an example, because I do realistically feel like he's going to be there at spot number 10. Somebody who brings elite pass blocking traits today, right? Like, he's that good. He brings size, he brings athleticism, he brings leadership, he's a great teammate, experience at Penn State, back-to-back years of good football. I mean, man, like, if you put yourself in his shoes, you're going to be walking into the locker room with freaking Tyron Smith taking you under his wing, a fantastic leader, a former All-Pro. Everybody knows how great Tyron Smith has been throughout the course of his career. Not many tackles can say that, right? Especially if you're a top 10 pick. It's one thing if you're a 4th or a 5th rounder, you're getting selected in the bottom of the round to a really good football team. Okay, it's a little bit different, but if you're a top 10 pick and you have that much potential, like potential to be a Sewell, Ronnie Stanley, and you're going to an organization where the person that's going to be playing your position, is an all-pro player, and he's going to be pouring all of his knowledge onto your plate, giving you every little bit of advice, how to be a pro, how to practice, how to prepare throughout the week, how to train in the off season, all of these little nuanced things, and in some cases, big things. you know, to me, that's like the perfect mentorship, right? The perfect guy that you want in your foxhole. Tyron Smith, man, if I could have anybody teach me the position, it's Tyron Smith. A great pass blocker throughout the course of his career. Somebody who's been, you know, a consistent staple for the Dallas O-line. You know, and again, at 33 years old, with a long list of injuries, he hasn't played a full season since 2015. He's dealt with some pretty big injuries as well. There's a good chance that he misses a couple games. There's a good chance that, you know, he isn't on the team in 2025, and then that's when Fashanu is going to have to take over. So, and then also you can make the same exact argument, but on the right side, right? Whoever, take your pick, whoever you want, Mims, Latham, Fuaga, right? You have Morgan Moses there. You got Morgan Moses showing you the ropes, you know, how to be a professional. I do feel like there's value in that. I mean, I know the storyline or the big topic that everybody kind of tailors this to is quarterbacks, right? Young quarterback coming in, you got to get a veteran in the locker room to show him the ropes. But in my opinion, it's relevant at every single position. The Jets are in this nice little gray area where we have playable options, guys that look good on paper, but at the same time, they come with question marks. They come with some red flags matched with, you know, the red flags that we've seen from this Jets organization, whether it be the MetLife turf, whether it be practice habits, whether it be Keith Carter, or whatever it is. The Jets offensive line does get banged up. So we kind of still need to continue to add to the room. And then last but not least, offensive line. I understand it's not the sexy position. It's not the position that catches touchdowns. It's not the position that throws the ball or catches the ball or gets picks or whatever. But offensive line, it helps everything. If you have a good offensive line, if you have a wall in front of the quarterback, in front of the running back, everything benefits. Receivers have more time to get open. Running backs have bigger holes to run through. The quarterback has more time to breathe. It opens up play action, right? Everything benefits when you have a great offensive line. You could have all pro receivers and all pro running back, but if your offensive line is bottom five, chances are you're not going to make it very far into the playoffs. You'll win some games here and there, but again, it all starts up front. And the Jets do have a really good opportunity here to draft one of these highly touted offensive tackles, guys with humongous ceilings and at the same time some high floors, and then stash them for, you know, whatever it is, a couple weeks, half a year, up to a full year. I mean, if you're that tackle prospect, you're loving life, right? The knowledge, you don't have to play right away, but you have so much potential. You're going to be, you know, chomping at the bit to hit the field in 25 if these guys do play a full year. And by the way, it's a win-win, because if they're playing a full year, 100% healthy, chances are the Jets offensive line is looking pretty good. So man, I think offensive line, it's so damn important. So damn important, right? I mean, it's important for every team out there. I get it completely, but with Rodgers coming off the Achilles, with having Breece Hall, just a young stud running back with so much potential, with the offense really needing to get on track this season, what's the easiest way to do that? Build the offensive line, get security blankets all over the place, get insurance policies. Oh, somebody goes down, boom, we have a highly touted prospect to fill in immediately. And at the same time, they're learning, they're practicing from one of the best to do it in the NFL, again, in Tyron Smith or Morgan Moses here. Again, I understand it's not the flashy position. It's not Brian Thomas, who I love. It's not, Odunze or Neighbors or Brock Bowers. But man, there's something about having a good offensive line. I'm sick and tired of saying to myself, "Oh man, I wish we had a solid offensive line." I'm so tired of seeing guys get hurt and then it just seems like, boom, we got a turnstile at the position. It stinks. It really does stink. So anyway, I would love offensive line. But again, if you are in favor of drafting Brock Bowers, that's your number one choice. No worries. I got a video coming on that, on why he should be the pick. And then, of course, wide receivers. That's also coming too at some point, probably this week. And then, of course, the trade down video. So playing a little devil's advocate here, kind of really put myself in the position of Joe Douglas, really trying to analyze it and talk about all the positives that going down each avenue brings to, the New York Jets in 2024 and beyond. So anyway, thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it. Let me know your thoughts. And as always, go Jets.